Madam Clerk, would you please call roll?
Yes. Belvedere. Benicia. Concord.
Here.
Contra Costa County.
Here.
Thank you. Corte Madera.
Here.
Danville.
Here.
El Cerrito.
Here.
Fairfax.
Here.
Fairfield. Hercules.
Here.
Lafayette. Larkspur.
Here.
County of Marin.
Here.
Thank you. Martinez.
Here.
Mill Valley.
Here.
Moraga. Napa.
Here.
The County of Napa and 4 Napa cities.
Here.
Thank you. Novato.
Here.
Oakley. Pinole. Pittsburgh. Pleasant Hill. Richmond.
Here.
Thank you. Ross. San Anselmo. San Pablo. San Rafael.
Here.
San Ramon.
Here.
Sausalito. Solano.
Yes.
Tiburon. Vallejo. And Walnut Creek.
Here.
Thank you. Did I skip anybody? We have a quorum. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to board announcements. Are there any board announcements? All right, seeing none here in Concord, any in San Rafael?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Okay, next is public open time. This is an opportunity for members of the public to give public comment on any agenda item. Do we have any members of the public in Concord or San Rafael that would like to speak?
We have no members of the public here in San Rafael. Tanya?
We have on Zoom, do we have any? Okay.
We have Rebecca Collins on Zoom.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, I wasn't sure. Hi. Yes, I am Rebecca. I am from the town of Fairfax. And I am calling because I'm very... Yes, can you... I thought I unmuted. Oh, okay.
We can hear you just fine, Rebecca.
Okay,
Go ahead.
can I be given that time back, please? Because there's a lot of... Oh,
Yes, we're working on restarting the clock. Okay, good to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, goodness, it's like echoing or something. So I am very concerned about SB 540. So there's a delay, but
Rebecca, you're coming through really clear over here.
okay, but there's a delay. I don't really know what's happening, but it's like a time warp. I just want to ask, please, that all board. Okay.
Maybe we could share with her the best email to submit her public comment via email.
Would you like to submit it via email, Rebecca, and we can distribute it that way?
I did want to speak. Oh, okay. I guess I'm going to give up. I don't know what to say. It's just.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Oh, you can now. Okay.
Yes, there's
so,
no issue.
okay. My concern is SB 540, and I just want to ask that all the board members, please do your own research. Please take the time and listen to the senior attorney from Center for Biologic Diversity. You know, read Loretta Lynch's article that just came out in the Chronicle. I am so concerned that this is happening, especially right now in the Trump administration, that, you know, when we are scrambling for scraps of our democracy, and we could turn this over willingly to the Trump administration and make ourselves vulnerable to, you know, states that don't even believe in climate change. You know, MCE and all the CCAs have took our RPS to places and so quickly that we never imagined. You know, any member of this regional authority could sue us on that basis. And the problems have not been solved with pathways. Please listen to the people who do not have a conflict of interest here. The 130 organizations, all the indivisibles, you know, all the people who are speaking out against this do not have a conflict of interest. They don't have a horse in the race. And I ask you, please differentiate yourself and do your own independent research and thinking on this, because we will have to live with this probably for the rest of our lives. And it's so important that we are well grounded in the facts. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any additional public comment via Zoom?
I see no other raised hands, Chair.
Thank you. All right, moving on to a report from our Chief Executive Officer, Dawn.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a few items to present on this evening, and we've got a couple of slides to go along with it. So let's jump to the next one. I want to mark our 15th anniversary, which is which landed last year on May 7th, or last week on May 7th. It was May 7th, 2010, when MCE began serving a few thousand customers in Marin County, around the 8,000 mark. And we've come a long way since those humble beginnings. And it's been a really amazing journey with many of you building this organization from the ground up. And I just wanted to pause for a moment and thank everyone, including our staff, our board members, our community leaders who helped get this agency off the ground and have fostered our growth and success over the last 15 years. It's been quite a journey, and everyone that has been part of it should be commended for helping contribute to our success. And we've not only made a big impact in our communities where we're serving customers, but we really cleared the path for many other community choice programs around the state. And currently 14 million customers in California are being served by a community choice program. And there's a lot more clean energy on the grid because of it. So we have a lot to be proud of, and we're going to be incorporating this milestone into a lot of our activities over the coming year. Rather than having one big event that could be a little expensive, we decided to keep it affordable and celebrate throughout the year by adding the theme into our board retreat, which we're going to be holding at our new space in Concord, at the Concord office. We'll also incorporate it into staff events and our holiday party. We're going to be distributing content throughout the year also through social media. We have podcasts that we're looking at, webinar opportunities, and some extra visuals that'll be going along with our email signatures and presentations. So keep an eye out for that over the rest of the year. And then the next slide, I wanted to let folks know that a growing challenge that we're facing at MCE is keeping track of load growth within our 4-county footprint. And so we wanted to put the word out to you all to help keep your ear to the ground and help keep us informed if you become aware of any significant load growth that might be coming along in your community. This could be a data center, this could be other type, new housing development, that sort of thing. We're not getting very good transparency from PG&E, and we're having a bit of difficulty at the CPUC advocating for this information. And we need to plan ahead to make sure we're able to serve the load with the amount of renewable content that our policy standards require. So keep us posted if you become aware of any new load growth that you think we should be aware of. We're happy to meet with you or city or county staff to talk through anything that you all might see on the horizon. And the next slide, I wanted to just pause for a moment and celebrate the CCA conference that was in Irvine. I wanted to thank Director Beckman and Director Murphy for making the trip down there. It was a great learning experience for me, and I think for everyone that attended. We always learn a lot from our sister CCAs and other market participants. The key themes at the conference this year are familiar to the board: affordability, load growth, virtual power plants. We talked a lot about that, CCA financing, and many more. This conference is always a great way to mark the growth and the evolution of the CCA movement, and a great way for us to learn from each other and become stronger in our partnerships, advocating for things that will help with affordability for all of our customers. The next conference will be held in Sacramento, and the date has already been set. And we've already sent the save the date out to you all. I believe it's May of next year. So mark your calendars. We hope many of you can attend. It will be a little closer to home. Next, I wanted to let folks know about a wind policy summit, offshore wind policy summit that we'll be participating in next week. This will be happening in Sacramento between the 19th and the 21st. We'll be presenting on a panel, and this will be a great way to introduce the offshore wind market to CCAs, make sure they're aware of our interest in working with them for supply, and we should be able to learn a lot too at the conference. So we'll report back on any general themes that come out of the conference. We're very excited that it's happening because there's a lot to do on the offshore wind front in preparation for port development and shipbuilding and that sort of thing. And then next slide, I wanted to let folks know about an exciting opportunity that just came to us through the Department of Energy through a grant that is going to allow us to extend some energy storage funds to a few projects across our footprint. And we currently view this federal grant as pretty low risk, but we'll be keeping a close eye on it to make sure it continues to stay put. It's earmark funding, so it doesn't fall within the types of programs that have been identified as priorities for the federal administration, but we'll be keeping an eye on it. And the program's going to be targeted towards non-residential, municipal, and county facilities that either have existing solar generation on site or would have capacity to add solar in conjunction with the new storage. Our goal is to have one project per county in each of our 4 counties in our service area, and we have about $250,000 to allocate on average for the grant and MCE's matched funding. We have a few projects that have already been suggested, so we've got a few ideas already in the hopper. We also have identified a few schools through our own staff efforts. But if you're aware of any site that might be a good fit, I know some of you reached out to us already after XCOM, so thank you for that. We've got those logged, but let us know if you haven't reached out to us and you have a site you want to suggest. I should also note that the anticipated average size of the battery storage projects is about 100 kilowatt hours, and there would be a 4 to 9 p.m. battery dispatch that would happen on a regular day, a blue sky day. Of course, if there's a shortage coming up or a storm coming up, we would allow folks to not do the dispatch during those hours, but that would be a part of the everyday operations of the battery. So we'll have more specific criteria coming up in the near future. But yeah, let us know if you have any suggestions. And that's it for my report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dawn. Checking in to see if any of the directors have any questions for Dawn.
Chair, I just had a quick question. The energy storage program she was just referring to, how big a space are you looking for?
Yeah, great question. How big of a space do we need for this installation? I wonder if any of the MCE staff would like to speak to that, or if we should get back. Yeah,
I can speak to that, Dawn.
thanks.
So are you asking like what type of facility, like how big of a facility are we
Yeah, are you
looking
looking
for?
at like a 300-acre site or a 3-acre
No.
site or a 0.3, like just sort of order of magnitude?
Yeah, no, this would be a battery that could be located like at a facility, not a huge amount of space, like, you know, in a, I don't recall, maybe you went to the Pittsburgh Unified School District field trip
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the board retreat. So kind of the same size as that battery
Okay.
that we saw on the field trip there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Do we have any additional questions from directors?
We have some here in San Rafael, Director Sackett and then Director Beckman.
Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate this, the discussion about how do we prepare for what's to come and what the development impacts are. And we've been talking a lot about this in San Rafael. And I hope you've been part of those conversations. We're trying to really get PG&E to the table. One of the questions that keeps coming up is sort of what's the threshold of size that becomes something you need to plan for? I imagine it's not 2 units, but is it 20 or is it 100? And then also what kind of time frame? There's a lot of development in the pipeline. It's still hard to tell when that's going to come online. But I'd love to hear, are you participating in those conversations, and then the best threshold?
Yeah, those conversations have been really helpful. I am aware of them, and that they actually prompted us bringing this up in the board meeting, because we realized how helpful it could be to just hear directly from our member communities what's happening there. As far as the threshold, I'll get back to you on that. But my gut response is any housing development that is greater than 15 units, I think would be worth letting us know about. And any commercial development that would be considered medium or large, small mom and pops, not so much of an impact. And to your question of how far ahead, I think it's helpful for us to know at least 2 years in advance, because we do need to buy resource adequacy, for example, on a year ahead basis.
Excuse me, Don, this is Vic, and may I add? I just wanted to emphasize that the big ticket items there's a lot of talk about artificial intelligence centers and data centers that come in very large chunks to the size of some of our member cities. So if you have any exposure through your permitting process, that either this third party would be requesting from your cities or counties, or PG&E may be working with you to develop a new substation or the building of new lines, that would be significantly important. I'm just adding to what Dawn mentioned. Thank you.
And just one idea along a similar line to what Director Sackett was getting at, and you may already be doing this, but is there a way that we could draw data from member communities' approved housing elements just to give us a sense of developments, potential developments, at least? I mean, I figure at the very least it gives us something to keep our eye on in the absence of actual proactive communication coming through.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great suggestion. And Director Kohler also has a question.
Yeah, just maybe it's a comment. So I would suggest that your staff that are working in Marin keep an eye on the Marin IJ, as well as our housing elements. But we have a project right now that they've submitted an application for, a full application for 243 units. And they want to start construction in 2026. Whether or not it happens, we don't, there are some unknowns where staff have 30 days to review their completed application and let them know if they meet the requirements. And, developments are dicey even with, and their thought is it's all ministerial. So whether or not that happens, and developments, as you know, sort of come in and out. But I think if you guys check our housing elements, but a lot of those may not be ready to be shovel ready, or even close to 2 years out. But I think if you read the IJ, you see enough about what's proposed out there. I know San Rafael's got several that are proposed that are pretty big. And I think it's interesting, the 15 units or more, because at least for the ones I've seen, they're looking really big. They're much bigger than that. So that might be a way, rather than counting on us, to always let you know. But as far as data centers, I know they're huge, and I'm not sure, but there may be places in the county where people would propose them, but you need pretty big swaths of land.
Are there? Okay,
We have two more raised hands here.
thank you.
I was just thinking that Director Kohler raised a good point. I guess we do have series of developments proposals for San Rafael, and then they don't happen. So so I don't know. I mean, I assume that you still want the information, but then what happens when we have all this development and then they don't get built? So that's just something to consider, I guess.
Yeah, great point. I think what we want to do is be aware of them, so that we can kind of keep an eye and see if they're getting close. And I should also add that the 10 unit threshold is erring greatly on the side of caution and conservatism. That really probably isn't going to move the needle very much. It's the bigger ones that will have a bigger impact. But cumulatively, a lot of small ones could. So the big ticket items are the data centers, and that's what really got us thinking about making this request to you all. But we'd also we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for smaller chunks as well. And then I believe there was one. Oh, maybe not. Did you have a raised hand? Okay, so we have one more question.
Yeah, we've got a few projects coming up. We've got 1,100 units. We got another 56 units. We have another 46 units. And then AB 2011, we've got over 400 units. That one may be years away. But I will send you a list of the ones we do have coming up. And I know the 1,100 unit one is definitely going to happen. They're trying to get a demo permit right now.
Thank you so much. Very helpful.
And then we have Zay on Zoom.
Hi, everyone. Zay Perrin, Vice President of Customer Operations. And I just wanted to say that I've been in the talks with the County of Marin and the City of San Rafael, along with PG&E. So we are aware of all of the expected as well as the open projects, and we're working to use the information that we're being provided by both PG&E as well as the county and the city to put together a template for all of the counties. So be looking for that, because we'll start that outreach as well, because we think that we've kind of gotten a structure through this communication and through this information to be able to help and support all of the cities and counties within our jurisdictions, while also helping us get the information.
And thank you, Zay, for that. I think that's great to have some type of template, so that we'll know how to, for the counties and cities that are interested, know how to move forward. All right. One more round. Any additional directors have questions before we move on?
We have Director Cepeda here in San Rafael.
Thank you, Chair. What about electric vehicle charging stations? If there's a couple of businesses wanting to put in a bunch of new ones, or if we're putting in new policies to install a bunch of new ones around the city, is that?
Yeah, especially if there's use the term a bunch. Yeah, if there's a bunch of them, and if they are especially fast chargers, those have a bigger impact on the grid. So yes, as they pointed out, we'll have a matrix that we can send around, and we'll definitely have a category for EV chargers. Those can have a really big impact on our load, so we'd love to know about them. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we happen to have any public comment?
I see no raised hands online, Chair.
Okay. We'll move on to the consent calendar. Are there any questions from directors with regards to the consent calendar? Or any items that directors see that they would like to pull from the consent calendar?
No
All
raised
right.
hands here in Santa Fe, Chair.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Director Meadows and seconded by Director Darling. Madam Clerk, please do the roll call.
Yes. Belvedere?
Yes.
Thank you. Concord?
Yes.
Contra Costa County?
Yes.
Corte Madera?
You didn't look at me.
Yes.
Danville?
Yes.
El Cerrito?
Yes.
Fairfax?
Yes.
Hercules?
Yes.
Larkspur?
Yes.
County of Marin?
Yes.
Martinez?
Yes.
Mill Valley?
Yes.
Moraga?
Yes.
Napa?
Yes.
The County of Napa and 4 Napa cities?
Yes.
Novato?
Yes.
Oakley?
Yes.
Pleasant Hill?
Yes.
Richmond?
Yes.
San Rafael?
Yes.
San Ramon?
Yes.
Solano?
Yes.
Walnut Creek?
Yes.
And did I miss anybody? Motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next is our customer program update. We will receive an update from our Vice President of Customer Programs. Please go ahead, Alice.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm happy to be here to give a broad update on several of the activities that we have going on in our customer programs. So next slide, please. So starting off with our electric vehicle programs. First up, we have been making some good progress in getting electric vehicle charging stations installed in affordable multifamily properties, which is one of the areas that we've identified as a real challenging type of property to get electric vehicle charging installed in. This is thanks to a grant from the Marin Community Foundation and the Bay Area Air District. We've identified 19 properties that are interested and have the space for electric vehicle charging. And we're currently assessing the capacity on those sites with the goal of installing 40 ports across the 19 properties. Next, we just concluded the first phase of our Charged by Public Power grant, which was a participatory budgeting exercise. And as part of that, we conducted 11 focus groups with 131 residents across our service area, including 9 in-person focus groups and 2 virtual sessions, which included Spanish and bilingual options. We got a lot of good feedback from community members through that process, and we'll be compiling that and sharing it out with our Community Power Coalition in May. And we also will be using that input to inform stage 2 of this grant, which is getting charging stations installed in the areas that were identified during this participatory planning exercise. I will say that this is a DOE grant, and so we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty on how to move forward with phase 2 of this grant. But we're looking at ways to sort of phase our build out to limit any risk that we're taking on in terms of starting projects, given the uncertainty around the funding, especially for this type of project right now. And then last up, I wanted to say that our EV charging program incentives have increased. This is the first time we've increased our incentives since we launched the program in, I think, 2018. And so when we first launched the program, we were covering about 50% of the cost of a port. And given inflation and increasing demands on electricians and all kinds of other factors driving the price up, that was getting closer to about 30% of the cost of a port. And so we raised our incentive. Our customers can now qualify for up to $5,000 per port. That would be for a location in a DAC on deep green, installing a level 2 port. And so I know many of our member agencies actually have been participating in this program. So if you are aware of any projects going on and this additional funding would be helpful, please help spread the word about that. We're hoping that this helps unlock some of those projects that we've seen stuck because of costs. And next slide, please. And then also in our EV program, we have been testing dynamic rates for EV charging. So this is through our MCE Sync program, which is a managed charging app. And this is funded through a grant from the CEC with our partner EV Energy, who runs the app. We have 365 drivers enrolled in what we call dynamic rewards. So through MCE Sync, customers can enroll and receive $10 a month for allowing MCE to optimize their EV charging. And under this program, we offer a rate that varies by hour of the day, partially attributed to market rates for electricity cost. And we compare what a customer earns on that dynamic rate versus what they are actually paying on their bill with their otherwise applicable tariff. And then we credit them the difference. So if they're able to do better on the dynamic rate by charging during low cost times, we'll calculate that difference and issue them a credit. The floor for the credit is $10 a month because that's the credit that we provide all of the customers in our MCE Sync program. But we're seeing most customers, or the average incentive earned by customers, around $19 a month from participating in this program. So just to explain a little bit more how it works, the two graphs on the right-hand side of the screen here, the dotted line is the price, and it's plotted over the energy consumption for customers that are on those two different rates. So these are both dynamic rates. The difference between the two is what underlying rate the customer is on, whether they're on a time of use rate or an EV rate. And so what we're seeing is that, especially for customers on the underlying EV rate, it's very effective at driving charging out of evening peak hours. And then for customers on the time of use rate, we also are seeing some success in driving charging towards the middle of the day. And you can see here the statistics. We have over 25% of charging on these dynamic rates happening in the middle of the day, and 98% of charging is shifted out of peak hours. That's compared to about 90% of charging being shifted out of peak hours for just MCE Sync. So managed charging alone is pretty effective at doing this, but we are seeing some incremental benefit with the dynamic rates. So some success here. I think we still have some more work to do to understand how much of this is the automation that we're providing, how much of it is the incentive through the dynamic rate, and how much of it is the incentive through the underlying time of use rate. So we'll be continuing to look into that to try to understand how useful dynamic rates are for optimizing EV charging amongst our customers. And then I just wanted to note, we are aware that there are some equity considerations for dynamic rates. We've seen studies that lower income households are less able to adjust their usage when they are offered a dynamic rate. And we think that something like this, a dynamic rate that applies only to a specific end use in the home, is actually a more equitable way to apply dynamic rates, especially when it's paired with something like MCE Sync that can help that customer optimize their savings on a dynamic rate. And there's a lot more detail to go into on this, so I'll just say that I am prepping a presentation on this for TechCom, and I'm looking forward to getting into a lot more of the details. It's very interesting when you start digging into some of the details on this pilot. Next slide, please. So moving on to building electrification, just kind of summarizing our efforts over the last couple of years. So between 2022 and 2024, MC has supported the installation of over 320 residential heat pump water heaters through a partnership that we had with Bayren. And we also have provided $280,000 to municipalities throughout our footprint to install 94 heat pump water heaters in a partnership that we had with PG&E. And then last year in 2024, our home energy savings program installed electrification measures in 110 homes at no cost. So those are low and moderate income homes. And that was double the rate that we were able to do the year before, where we did about 50 homes. Also in 2024, our Green Workforce Pathways program, which is a workforce development program aimed at increasing the knowledge base of our contractors and the contractors who are available to do this type of work. We sponsored 4 industry trainings in a partnership with Richmond Build. We paid staff from 5 contractors to take manufacturer trainings on how to install electrification equipment. And we provided 11 job seekers, so graduates of the training programs that we sponsored, with paid on-the-job training, so 160 hours at heat pump water heater and heat pump HVAC entry-level contractor positions. And then looking forward, I wanted to say something that we're looking into is streamlining permitting around residential electrification. And we're launching a study this year to kind of look at best practices and hopefully develop a guide to share across our region on what we are seeing as best practices in electrification equipment permitting. Next slide, please. And then with battery storage, Dawn already mentioned this first one in her report at the beginning of the meeting. So I'll skip over that. I'll just emphasize that we would love to have your help getting the word out about this opportunity. But moving down to the second bullet, we recently were able to integrate several Duracell batteries that were installed during the first version of our energy storage program that launched in 2020 into our future program, into the virtual power plant. So they're now integrated into our DERMS platform, and we'll be using those batteries to help support a minimum aggregation to start testing bidding into CAISO markets. Next slide. And then I think this is the last section I have, but we recently filed our 2024 Energy Efficiency Annual Report, which I think was included in the meeting packet. And I wanted to highlight some of our accomplishments from last year. So next, thank you. So from all of the projects that we did in 2024, cumulatively, they reduced over 16,000 metric tons of carbon emissions. That's approximately equivalent to 3,888 gas cars off the road for 1 year. So that's over the life cycle of that equipment that was installed in 2024. That included 38 projects at large commercial, agricultural, and industrial sites. I will say this is actually a bit of a slower year for us in this program because one of our largest volume programs, we brought on a new implementation partner this year. So we phased out our old partner, brought on a new one. So it was a bit of a transition year for us. But we're really looking forward to doing good things with this new partner next year. And then in terms of total customer bill savings from all of our energy efficiency programs, they were over $4 million. And then the total incentives that we paid out were $2.7 million. And next slide. And then within our energy efficiency portfolio, we have several programs that we call equity programs. And I wanted to talk in a little bit more detail about those. So our multifamily energy savings program in 2024 completed energy efficiency projects at 296 units across 8 properties, paying out $233,000 in customer incentives. And we brought in new reservations for projects to close out next year across 4 properties and over $500,000 allocated to those in customer incentives. The home energy savings program that does no-cost energy efficiency for low and moderate income homes. We provided 373 homes with no-cost upgrades, and the value of those upgrades cumulatively was over $2 million. 54 of those homes received a special grant from MCE to provide essential home repairs that otherwise would have prevented them from receiving those no-cost upgrades through the energy efficiency programs. And then lastly, our Small Business Energy Advantage program. This is for small businesses in certain priority communities. Launched in August of 2024, we kicked this program off with a walking campaign in Concord. And as a result of that campaign, we enrolled 40 completed projects, or actually by the end of 2024, 11 of those had completed projects. And in a nice sort of partnership between programs across MCE, we also were able to spread the word about our CARES credit, and we enrolled 178 businesses in the CARES credit as a result of, walking around and talking to them during that campaign. So that was really exciting too, to be able to promote multiple offerings in one go. And I believe that that's the last slide. Yes, it is in my presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from directors? Yes.
We have one here in San Rafael, Director
Okay.
Kulati.
Yes, thank you. I was curious to see that in the business program that you started as a pilot in Concord, that you were doing like a, how do you say, walkthrough. What's the plan are you planning to expand that to other cities, or where are we in terms of the program? Thank you.
Yes, we do plan on continuing to run that program. We have funding allocated for that through the end of 2027, and we'll be filing an application to continue it beyond that. We just finished a walking campaign in Vallejo, and I don't have the next city off the top of my head that we're going to, but we listed out all of the cities in MCE's service area and ranked them by the number of businesses that we felt would qualify, and are hitting them in order of where we saw the highest concentration of businesses that would qualify. And we are planning on moving all around the service area and hitting many different towns across the 4 counties.
Director Barros?
Thank you, Alice, for great presentation. So on multifamily electric charge stations, are you planning to move forward? If you plan to move forward for further, so is this multifamily residential units, they need to reach out to MCE for if they need EV charging? What is the process? If you can share, that would be great.
Yes. So if there's a multifamily property that's interested in EV charging, they would qualify for our program, which includes the rebates that I announced are increasing tonight. And then we also have a technical assistance component. So they can either, reach out to, connect them to staff, or on our website, on the EV charging website, there's a link and it says, if you're interested in technical assistance, fill that out, and that will, start them on that process.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Director,
We have someone else here in Concord, another director.
Alice, thanks so much for your presentation. Really appreciate it. Just a couple quick things. Under the home energy savings, where you have a cost of $2,111,000, where did that money come from? Is that from a grant? Is that from MCE? Where did that money come from?
It comes from the CPUC, so it's money that we get from the public purpose funds that the CPUC collects to fund ratepayer funded energy efficiency. So that's where that 2 million comes from.
Okay, so it's not coming out of our pocket.
No.
Coming out of theirs.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one before, under energy efficiency, you show a customer bill savings of 4.15 million. How do you figure that out? How do you come up with that number?
We actually have it built. We have quite a lot on the back end of our energy efficiency programs to calculate the savings, calculate, a lot of the emissions reductions. And so it's a calculator that all program administrators in California use. It has rates in there. We put in project by project what equipment we put in. There's assumptions tied to each piece of equipment that we install, including when are those savings occurring, how much savings. And so all of that calculation happens within this tool that all energy efficiency program administrators in California
Okay.
use.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to San Rafael. Do we have any
Director-
directors with questions?
Director Beckman?
Thank you. Great presentation, and it's great to see the metrics on the results that we're getting with these programs. I just had a question about our support for heat pump water heaters. Looks like we've got the first bullet here is 450,000 in incentives for 320 water heaters, which is I think like $1,400 per water heater. Then the second bullet here is 280,000 for 94 heat pump water heaters. That's almost 3,000 a water heater. And I just wanted to get a better sense of what is the average cost of these projects, both parts and labor, and I guess any permit that's required. Do we have a sense of what the average cost of one of these electrification projects is? And I guess, from there, I'm curious how much of that do we actually cover for the customer? Because I mean, $3,000 for a heat pump water heater project feels high, but maybe I'm off base.
Yeah, the projects are probably more expensive than any of us would like to see. I think I've seen estimates as high as like $6,500 for heat pump water heater installs all included. And just a note on kind of the math that you were just doing, the $1,000 per heat pump water heater, that was in partnership with Bayren, and that was pulling in money from MCE, additional money from Bayren. So the $1,000 is coming from MCE. There was more money coming from Bayren, and then there was even more money coming from a state program to help offset the cost. The $3,000 per water heater for the partnership with PG&E, those are for commercial scale heat pump water heaters at municipal facilities. And those also were receiving money from PG&E as well. So the costs are definitely much higher than that, than those incentives that we were paying out.
Thank you.
Any other questions from directors from San Rafael?
Director Andre?
Thank you, Alice, for your presentation. I was very interested in something that you mentioned about studying the permit process and streamlining the permit process for installing electric appliances or just electrifying. I think that that's one way cities can really, without offering monetary incentives, I think that's one way that cities can really help our residents and businesses start the process or incentivize people to install, electric appliances. And so I'd be very interested in seeing your study when it's available in terms of what best practices are and what we can do as we're all on city councils. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to come back here with that information when we have it. And I just want to say a little bit more. One of the reasons why this is so important is that we're seeing this issue of gas to electric replacement, especially in the case of an emergency replacement, taking at minimum several days, partially because of permitting. And so while we have our loaner program where we're working on, finding different workarounds to this problem, another way is actually to speed up the permitting process so that install can happen in one day. So that was kind of the driver behind this study. So yeah, we'll definitely come back here with the findings from that.
Director Kohler?
I just want to say, I did a heat pump water heater in Fairfax, and not because I'm on the council. The permitting of our staff was less than a day. I had to upgrade my electrical box, which took quite a bit of time from PG&E. And just figuring out all the logistics was more on me. I would live in an HOA, so I had to get their approval. But I can say, at least in Fairfax, it was a minute. I mean, it was a day. It was nothing. And I don't think we're that unique. I think what maybe when you do your study, you ought to look at some of these other aspects that contribute to that, because it took me several months because of the PG&E work, and also because, getting their approval is quite a process. And my first contractor didn't know what he was doing. So that was a wasted 45 days. Second contractor knew what they were doing, maybe took 3 weeks from PG&E. And then, and then the HOE process, as well as just figuring out, they're very expensive. And heat pump, water heater, without the upgrade of the box was $22,000. And I looked for several contractors and got local that was the cheapest. So the $3,000, which it sounds like was for commercial anyway, it's not a lot of money. So it's, it's something, it's incentive, but it's not going to get somebody who's low income to be able to afford even just a heat pump. So we'd like to see more. The county had rebates, which they cut in half so they could get more people funded, but it really seems like that would be a really good avenue for us to look at for the future for programs to really provide rebates through MCE. Just to think about that. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any additional directors here? Yes.
Yeah, thank you again for your presentation, Alice. I had a question about the dynamic rates for EV charging. So I don't currently have electric vehicle, and I'm curious if information could be found on the program if I went to a dealership and purchased a vehicle or, got my car serviced. Is it advertised in that way?
It's not advertised in that way right now, just because this was a pilot. We had limited enrollment opportunities. So we have MCE Sync is our app that does manage charging, not through dynamic rates. We just manage the charging on the back end and provide a $10 a month credit. That we do advertise. We have a partnership with dealerships to share information about that app. And we currently have, I think, over 3,000 vehicles enrolled in that. The dynamic rates in particular, it was capped at around 350 participants. But I will say this was phase 1 of a grant, and we're aiming to move on to phase 2, where we have the opportunity to expand it. I think right now we have to look closely at the results and just make sure that this is something that we want to expand versus continuing on with the standard managed charging program that we have. And so then that would be more of an opportunity to market this more broadly.
I have a question, Alice. So in terms of the heat pump and the energy efficiency, in terms of our different communities, whether it's county or the cities, is there data showing how many was done in each of our cities? I think that would be good to be able to take back to your city or your county to share, all the good work that's being done within the communities.
Yes, I don't have that, but thanks to our awesome CRM that we've been building out over the last couple of years, I can do that breakdown. So that's information that I can pull together and then provide. We can break down any of our programs by town, by county, slice it lots of different ways. So yeah, definitely.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any public comment on this item? Via Zoom, maybe?
I see no raised hands on Zoom.
All right. So we will move on to our next agenda item. Thank you again, Alice. So that's item number 7. This update will be introduced by our Vice President of Public Affairs. Please go ahead, Jared.
Thank you. Good evening, directors, and you can go to the next slide, please. MCE's Public Affairs Department serves as the conduit between the agency and the communities we serve. It is responsible for communicating MCE's message and value proposition, managing the agency's brand, and liaising with our service area's municipal staff, community-based organizations, residents, and the business community. The department is comprised of 4 teams. The business development team manages relationships with businesses and business-related organizations such as chambers of commerce. They function as energy consultants for businesses and municipal agencies in our service area and help them to identify MCE programs that are the best fits for their organizations. For example, we are relaunching our Peak Flex Demand Response program for the summer of 2025. In this program, customers receive $2 per kilowatt hour saved during called events between 4 and 9 p.m. These are often CAISO Flex Alert Days. Our business development team is actively engaged with the private sector and government customers to identify and enroll them in the program. A tangible example of their efforts is the City of Fairfield's water treatment facility enrolling in the program. The business development team worked closely with city staff to evaluate the opportunity for savings at the facility and guided them through the process of enrollment. MCE's communications team ensures brand consistency and message pull-through across a variety of channels, including MCE's blog, newsletters, video, social media, and the press. Their work amplifies messaging for MCE's programs, helps develop and distribute thought leadership content from executives, and enhances MCE's profile as a leader in our service area and the California energy industry more broadly. A recent example is their work in telling the story of MCE's virtual power plant in Richmond, which I know Alexandra will go into more detail on shortly. But the team worked with staff at KQED to communicate the purpose and promise of the VPP in terms that would resonate with that station's very highly engaged audience. The result was multi-pronged coverage of the VPP across many weeks, including on KQED's radio broadcast, their website, podcast, and their social media channels. Over the past year, the team has earned local press coverage in the Napa Valley Register, the San Francisco Business Times, the Marin Independent Journal, and the North Bay Business Journal, as well as a variety of clean tech and renewable energy trade publications. On MCE's social media channels, the team has grown our follower base by 8% thus far in 2025, with content impressions increasing by nearly 50%. MCE's community engagement team works with city and county staff, as well as community-based organizations across the service area to demonstrate the value that MCE creates for their constituents, as well as communicate back to the agency the challenges, the concerns, and priorities of our stakeholders. We'll cover a few of this team's projects later, but at a high level, the community engagement team helped to lead the focus groups that Alice had mentioned in her presentation for the Charged by Public Power program, which resulted in 11 focus groups in 8 communities in our service area, hosted both in Spanish and in English. We had more than 130 members of the community participate in sharing their perspective on equitable solutions for electric vehicles and charging infrastructure. The team also leads our community partnership program, a collaboration between local community-based organizations and cities to better engage residents across our 4 counties. These partnerships include the San Pablo Economic Development Corporation, North Marin Community Services, the City of Pinole, the Canal Alliance, Vallejo Main Street, and the Solano County Economic Development Corporation. And finally, our marketing team manages customer marketing across a variety of print and digital channels and ensures brand consistency throughout. This includes campaigns to enroll eligible customers in the various MCE programs, introducing new customers to MCE's service, and the required customer mailers that we send out throughout the year, such as our Power Content label. The team also manages our brand advertising campaigns, which I'll go into a bit more detail shortly. But in Q1 alone, the marketing team sent 62,990 emails to customers across 22 campaigns, as well as 37,000 printed mailers across 3 campaigns. And for the successful MCE website and brand refresh that was conducted last year, the marketing team won the Marcom Gold Award from the Association of Marketing and Communications Professionals. Next slide, please. As Dawn mentioned in her report, 2025 marks 15 years of service by MCE, and to commemorate this milestone, the Public Affairs Department is working throughout the year to highlight the people and milestones that have made MCE what it is today. Our celebration started last week with the distribution of a press release announcing the anniversary, and this week we had arranged an interview for Dawn on a prominent clean tech podcast to reflect on these 15 years and to call attention to the challenges that lie ahead for both MCE and the CCA movement more broadly in California's fast-growing electricity market. That episode should be released in a few weeks, so we're looking forward to sharing that. Our brand marketing team has also developed special 15-year digital ribbons that staff have on their email signatures, and will be using specially branded presentation templates throughout the year for presentations at conferences and other special events. And in the coming months, as Dawn mentioned, we'll be incorporating this 15-year theme into our events, such as the board and staff retreat, as well as our holiday party coming up in December. And I would just ask that as we post social media content throughout the year on MCE's channels related to the anniversary, that I would encourage member communities to share and amplify those messages on their own channels. Next slide, please. Earlier this year, MCE launched a multi-channel brand awareness advertising campaign around the theme of good energy. This is a continuation of the brand refresh work completed in 2024, as well as surveys of staff and board members on how we want to be perceived by our customers. Building a solid foundation for MCE's brand awareness is important for the agency for several reasons. First, establishing a baseline understanding of MCE and its value proposition that it provides reduces the barrier to adoption when our customer programs team and our business development team are talking to customers about enrolling in programs. Second, it improves interactions between customers and our call center staff when customers reach out to us with questions about their energy statements or any other energy-related challenges that they are calling about. Having that base level of awareness is helpful for that conversation. That campaign started in May and will wrap by the end of this month. Advertisements covered a lot of different channels, including out-of-home ads on buses in all 4 counties. You may have seen some of them if you've been out and about in the community. We've also had ads in streaming audio and social media, and ads were placed in both English and in Spanish language. Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, so I love that little tagline, "You've got good energy," and the visual. Who came up with that? I love it.
It was a collaboration between our brand team and an advertising campaign, our advertising agency that we work with.
Yeah, I think it's really good. So thank you. That's what I
we
wanted
really
to
like
say.
doing it.
I love it. It just is perfect.
Yeah, and I would say the campaign's visual style was selected for its colorful, vibrant, and positive reflection of MCE's values and brand personality. It's meant to remind viewers of a 1970s art style while evoking modern design aesthetics. Next slide, please. This is one of the advertisements that was placed on the sides of buses. Our goal with the messaging of the campaign was to find the intersection between the value that MCE creates for our communities and the priorities of the residents living in them. Consistent themes that were shared in surveys were affordable healthcare, healthy living, access to outdoor spaces, and sustainability. Next slide, please. This is another one of the messages that was on the bus sides. This one emphasizing the financial benefit of being an MCE customer. This version was placed on the tail of buses. The landing page, youhavegoodenergy.org, takes visitors to MCE's website. In total, the campaign had advertisements scheduled on 38 bus sides and 28 bus tails, covering all 4 service area counties. Next slide. And as I mentioned earlier, both English and Spanish language advertisements were placed. And I will say a big shout out to our brand marketing team for the creation and execution of this campaign. I think we're really happy with how it turned out. Next slide, please. Another major initiative this past year has been the enrollment of Hercules. This effort spanned all 4 teams within public affairs, as well as our customer operations team, including our call center. Our multi-channel effort included targeted communications and advertising to all Hercules residents and businesses, engagement with the local community through sponsored events like the Lunar New Year Parade, as well as 6 MCE and city-hosted workshops where residents could ask questions and have their concerns addressed directly by MCE's engagement team, customer operations, as well as city leaders. In total, we had about 150 residents join these 6 workshops. All residents and businesses received 4 notifications from our marketing team, and our brand awareness campaign in Hercules is ongoing. This has been a successful enrollment, thanks in large part due to the collaboration between MCE and the city's leaders. I want to thank Mayor Bailey in particular for his leadership in the process. He's been very engaged with MCE staff and has been very eager to answer residents' questions and has been very helpful. In total, we have 7,782 Hercules customers enrolled, which represents a 93% participation rate, which is comparable to past enrollments. In addition, there are 1,471 net energy metering customers who will be eligible for enrollment later in the year at their true update. Our customer operations team fielded about 1,300 customer phone calls and 623 online case requests during enrollment, and 84 customers have opted up to Deep Green. Next slide, please. MCE's first ever Because of Youth Festival was held at Contra Costa College on March 30th. This festival aimed to inspire young people to take part in climate action initiatives through MCE's service area. We partnered with organizations including the Napa Bike Coalition, Future Build, and the Marin Youth Leadership Institute to table and share job, volunteer, and internship opportunities. And MCE's Human Resources team spoke about how to get involved in climate action through our own internship program. The festival demonstrated the power of partnerships in our service area with 16 organizations tabling early on a very rainy Sunday. Next slide, please. As part of the festival, MCE worked with youth ambassadors from local organizations to help demonstrate the impact that young people can have in combating the climate crisis. Youth ambassadors from the Bay Area Youth Climate Summit, the City of Pittsburgh's Youth Advisory Council, and Sustainable Leaders in Action all shared their inspiring stories of action and purpose, and were instrumental in getting the word out about the festival across their social media channels. This partnership gave these youth ambassadors the opportunity to sharpen their own skills, public speaking, networking, organizing, and will be helpful for them as they continue to grow their leadership skills and prepare for their continued education. Next slide, please. And finally, an update on the Community Power Coalition, which is MCE's network of social, racial, and environmental justice organizations that do feet on the street work to address inequities in our local communities. MCE partners with these coalitions to create learning opportunities about climate justice for community-based organizations, expand access to renewable energy service in MCE's customer programs, and encourage participation in the design and execution of MCE's energy equity programs and policies. There are currently 45 participating community-based organizations. The coalition allows for a two-way relationship. One, it allows trusted messengers that can help ensure their stakeholders know about MCE's offerings, especially in difficult to reach communities. And it serves as a trusted source of information and counsel for MCE, helping us to ensure we are meeting community needs. Coalition meetings thus far in 2025 have covered affordability, youth engagement, and the Hercules enrollment. In 2024, MCE hosted 6 coalition meetings with 198 participants. 2 meetings were held this year to facilitate bidirectional communication with MCE's municipal partners and local community-based organizations. In total, 60 individuals participated in these meetings, representing an increase in attendance relative to 2024. And we had 9 new members attending for the first time. And last fall, we hosted the first Community Power Coalition Symposium, which brought together 62 attendees from 35 CBOs and other local organizations. The symposium demonstrated equity in practice with attendance from Spanish-speaking community health workers. MCE's bilingual staff provided real-time interpretation to ensure that all voices were heard. We also had several technology demonstrations, including induction cooktops and heat pump water heaters, to give attendees an opportunity to learn about electrification technologies and experience them for themselves. And we are happy to announce that we'll be hosting the second iteration of this symposium later this year in November, and we'll be releasing more information as we solidify details in the coming months. Next slide, please. Yeah, I hope this gives you a sense of the many ways MCE is engaging communities within our service area and how the Public Affairs Department facilitates that effort, and happy to take any more questions.
Thank you, Jared, for the great presentation. love seeing all the work that's going on out in our communities, especially around our youth.
Yeah.
All right, checking in to see if we have any directors from San Rafael. We'll start there first with questions.
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Napa?
Yes, hi. I just want to give a quick shout out to both Marielle Herrick and Tyler Brown, who helped us in March with a Youth Climate Summit in Napa. And I know you can't mention every single project and program that you do, but it was phenomenally inspirational to hear Tyler's story and to have that shared with our community and shared with our youth. So I just wanted to share that. Oftentimes Napa's here remotely, we're listening, we're here, and are really excited to be a part of it, and want to just extend that thanks to both Tyler and Marielle for all their hard work. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
would echo that. Thank you.
Any directors with questions here in Concord? Yeah, Director Speggs.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about the Because of Youth Festival? Is that an annual event? Is it something new? I would love to see that at DVC in Pleasant Hill.
Yeah, this was the first year that we have hosted this event. We learned a lot and are actively exploring how to improve this event and where to host it next year. So I'd be interested in having that conversation.
All right. Do we have any public comments via Zoom?
I see no raised hands on Zoom.
Okay. Well, thank you again, Jared. We'll move on.
Director
Yes.
Thayer has a question or a comment.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I have a comment, not a question. I just want to thank you for that presentation. It's amazing to see the new brand and to see how well it represents what this organization is. And I just want to commend you on all of the outreach that you're doing. I remember at the conference I attended, all I heard about was what this organization was doing and how MC was setting the standard for everybody else. So congratulations and thank you for that report. It was really great.
Thank you. Before we move on, do we have any additional questions or comments from directors via Zoom in San Rafael or here in Concord? All right, seeing none or hearing none, we'll move on to item number 8. Next is our strategic initiatives update. It'll be presented by our Vice President of Strategic Initiatives. Please go ahead, Alexandria.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Lovely to be here with you. I just wanted to kind of reframe. It is our 15th birthday. And so for some of you, you may know that in Latino culture, that means that we're having our quinceañera right now. We don't have budget for ballroom gowns for everybody, but I hope that you're all kind of celebrating in your own way because this is monumental and we wouldn't be here without you, the board, all of the time and your expertise to guide us to our sweet quinceañera. Next year will be the Sweet 16. And so thank you for all of your efforts to get us here. So as mentioned, my name's Alexandra. I'm VP of Strategic Initiatives. Strategic Initiatives is the newest department at MCE. So just wanted to get everyone up to speed of what we're doing and the partnerships that we're developing. I want to just note that earlier on in MCE's development, we were kind of in a defensive posture. There was a lot of attacks that were coming our way and that we were facing enormous odds. And I think that there was a shift once we had our feet planted, and I think we had most of the existential crises underway or resolved, that's a better word for it. Then we were able to shift from a defensive posture into more of an offense position, which I know Vicken will say offense is the best defense. So, with shifting into the offense, I think part of MCE's offense is staying visionary and looking at the horizon and seeing what's coming towards us, both technology, but also policy landscape, and being quick enough to adapt to a quickly changing energy environment. So strategic initiatives, which I know I have two of my team members on the call virtually on Zoom. We have Sam and Rory joining us as well. But this very small team, newest team, is part of the effort to make sure that MCE can continue moving towards a visionary position, even when the technology hasn't been used before, even when the concepts are new or the programs or the funding needs to be new. So we've kind of become a bit of a quasi incubator within MCE. We were launched in 2020 when there was a clear need to develop some more cross-team coordination, specifically around resiliency. So as you know, we generate power. We don't own the poles and wires out there. So how do we generate resiliency and grid stability without having control of the grid? Kind of a tricky question to answer. So your board helped launch strategic initiatives about 5 years ago. Can't believe it already. And over the course of those 5 years, we've tackled different opportunities as they have emerged. Some have been shorter in length, 2 years or so, that have closed down when the opportunity emerged. We jump on it, work on it until it reaches its natural conclusion. Others have been longer in length. So currently, there are 6 initiatives that our team of 3 is working on. So I wanted to provide kind of a update on those 6 initiatives. Each of them tends to be on the cutting edge or the bleeding edge, which makes sense because there's a lot of heart in the work that we do. So kind of on the bleeding edge of what California needs to move us forward towards a clean energy future. So if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide, I'm just going to go through the team and the 6 initiatives. Here we are. It's myself, Sam and Rory, who are online, and we have the pleasure of hosting one of HR's excellent interns this year. Anna Tackaberry also joins us to support this effort, and she's been with us till the summer, I think. So here's a snapshot. I'm going to go into each one of them individually, but I just wanted to highlight what role they play within the agency, why these 6 are tasked to strategic initiatives to move forward, the bigger picture of do they fit in because of it's an equity effort or greenhouse gas reduction effort, etc. So I'll let you read that on your own time. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, so of the 6, the one that has been getting a lot of media attention, Jared mentioned it earlier. If you went to the CalCCA conference, you heard a lot about it, virtual power plant. You'll also know that virtual power plant is a term that is used to describe very many configurations of energy resources. MCE is developing its own virtual power plant software that we build in-house and behind in our data system. So a metaphor that seemed to be useful last week was the difference between renting an apartment and owning a home. There's a lot of other concepts that get called virtual power plant where you're renting a home to someone and you don't have control over the rental cost. Your rent might be going up 10% every year. You may not even have control if you stay in this space. You know, the tenant has fewer recourses than if they were in a home ownership situation. And so MCE's VPP is quite particular because we're building it. We're building our own home. And in order to do so, we want to make sure that we are generating maximum value for the customer to pass that to the participating customer directly on their bills as credits for the resiliency value that they generate. So essentially, at the heart of this, it's the installation of many smart devices, grid smart devices, that can shift load to different times of the day, to times of the day where the energy is less expensive or more clean. So this could be something like a battery or an electric vehicle charger or a smart thermostat, even the heat pump water heaters that we're talking about earlier today. Each of these things have the ability to be smarter about how we use energy and when. So in your staff report, there's a lot more detail. I'm just going to note some of the wins and the next steps for each of the initiatives. So we've recently secured a California Energy Commission grant, $5 million, to expand the pilot currently in the city of Richmond to all 38 member communities of MCE. So that contract, believe it or not, is still underway with the CEC. We're still chipping away at that document and is set to launch this quarter. We hopefully have all contracts done by the end of the month and we can get started on this work to expand the VPP. We also have run successful tests on the devices in the field. These devices that have been installed, batteries, heat pumps, and other items, are responding to the data signals that we're sending to them, and we're seeing how we're successfully shifting load out of peak times, where a 4 to 9 that's the most amount of strain on the grid at that time, shifting it out of that 4 to 9 window in order to provide environmental and economic benefits to the customer. So that's very exciting because it has required a lot of administrative work in the background, something like that, to ensure that these devices can be responsive. And then finally, some of you might remember a press event that we had in August of last year, also in Richmond, where we had members of the EPA, the CPUC, and the CEC come and celebrate what the home of the future looks like. So those were some wins over the last year for the VPP. So next steps are finalizing the CEC contracts and also working with providers that already are doing battery install in the field, where these batteries already have permission to operate, which, as you mentioned, Director Kohler, there sometimes can be a significant wait before PG&E gives the approval for these devices to be operational. But there are manufacturers out there who already have batteries installed. Can we work with them to tap into those batteries that are already installed and kind of leapfrog over the timeline that it would otherwise take to start it from scratch and do the installations ourselves? Those are some ideas that we're working on right now for the expansion of the program. Next slide, please. There's also finding funding. The last administration had a number of different grants available for projects that are relevant to MCE. We coordinate a cross-team meeting every other week to discuss, should we go after earmarks? Should we go after grants? What if a tax credit would be better for our communities? Let's triage and figure out what the best strategy is for ourselves. So towards that end, over the last year, not only have we submitted many grant applications, I think over the course of this effort, we've secured $14.5 million, either in federal, state, or local grants. We've also been supporting our community members as they pursue grants, including some of your municipalities. We've supported 43 applications on behalf of the community. 20 of those have won, representing $341 million of awards throughout the community. So those are exciting ways that MCE can play a part in bringing funding home. We're also doing a mock audit review of MCE's internal policies to ensure that we can stay in compliance with federal requirements. And so that mock audit has been of 19 policies, many documents, many questions. We now have a 60-page report of recommendations that we're working through to improve our systems. Some of the challenges, as have been mentioned, there's a lot of uncertainty that's being caused by the federal funding freeze, including the DOE grant that Alice mentioned earlier, the Charge by Public Power. Some of these grants are more vulnerable to possible cancellation than others, so we're monitoring that closely. It's a challenge. One of the grants we submitted to the CPUC was to work with your municipalities to help your fleets electrify. And unfortunately, for reasons yet unknown, that funding opportunity called the LIGHT project was frozen it feels like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago now, and it's still frozen. Also, another challenge is that in order to have MCE customers access SCHIP funding, the Self-Generation Incentive Fund for battery programs, they have to enroll that battery in an eligible demand response program. In order to be on that list, we've submitted the letter to get Peak Flex on that list of just demand response eligible programs. And again, that advice letter has been suspended. Haven't had too much clarity as to why, but that's another challenge. It was suspended in February, and we're still waiting on that to be released. So next steps here, we're still working on grants. There are far fewer this year than there were in years previous. However, there is a lot of support still for workforce development. So we are meeting with local partners, training partners, contracting partners, maybe even other CCAs to try and identify what strategy could we collectively do on the workforce side to train up people for these green construction jobs of the future. Next slide, please. So the next two slides actually have to do, they're thematically connected. They have to do with responsible baseload power. So, we're pretty good at building intermittent resources. There's a lot of solar, a lot of wind, but the baseload power is a type of renewable energy that can run all day long. So what you see here is biomass. Next will be hydrogen. Both of these technology types have a lot of, there is, I'm blanking on a word right now, a spectrum, sorry. Just touching Catalina helps me be smarter. So there's a spectrum of technology types that would be called biomass, or that could be called hydrogen. And so we want to make sure that MCE is positioning itself in the market to send the right market signal so we get the best technology type out of that. So your board has been instrumental in helping us develop these principles. So we have responsible biomass principles, responsible hydrogen principles, that it essentially says, hey, we'll be a buyer, but we want to make sure it's for the right type of technology. So in the biomass field, we have these principles. We have been monitoring some local biomass opportunities, one here in San Rafael, the other up in Napa County. There was a possible opportunity in Novato, and we're kind of, maybe we can talk after. I feel like there hasn't been too much movement on that side recently. And then also we were able to collect your feedback on those principles in August at the August TechCom last year. So those have been revised with your feedback. Next step, it has to do with the CPUC funding for small scale biomass. That was referred to as the Biomat feed-in tariff. That program, we even passed legislation to ensure that CCAs had access to these funds. And yet it is set to sunset by the end of the year. So we passed legislation. We started a CPUC proceeding. Proceeding took, I don't know, probably about a year. We're finally in the running to get these funding, and they say, oh, the program's going to end the end of 2025. So now we're kind of in a position where we're trying to figure out, can it be expanded? There's a number of legislators who are submitting letters to the CPUC to have the program not sunset at the end of the year, and that's the next step for biomass. All right, next slide, please. Has to do with hydrogen. Again, hydrogen is one of those technology types where it can mean many different things. MCE is explicitly interested in what is commonly referred to as green hydrogen, where solar energy is used as the base to split water from hydrogen and oxygen molecules. The oxygen goes up into the air and the hydrogen is left behind, and it can be compressed into a gas used later as a source of long duration storage to provide electricity back to the grid when the sun has already gone down and the wind has already stopped. So that's what we're calling electrolytic green hydrogen, because the technology to split the water molecule is called an electrolyzer. So we've developed those principles. We're exploring a green hydrogen tariff with LS Power to see if we can be the intermediary between an electrolyzer and a solar field, and see if we can kind of tie those two together through MCE. We also recently met with SoCal Gas down at their Energy Resource Center, because they've built a hydrogen microgrid that takes solar from their parking lot, runs an electrolyzer on site, generates hydrogen. Now, their use case is different than ours. They want to blend it with natural gas and use that to run natural gas appliances. But the technology element is the same, because you're producing hydrogen and also storing excess solar in batteries. And that's the part that we're interested in seeing be adopted. So we continue to work with LS Power on this hydrogen tariff possibility as a next step. Next slide, please. I believe there's just two more here. We're moving into the qualitative, more environmental justice equity initiatives. One of those initiatives is supplier diversity. So we are tasked with the annual compliance of submitting a supplier diversity report to the CPUC every year. Work closely with the public affairs team to make that happen. Essentially, we look at MCE's finances, see where did the funding go over the last year. How much of that money stayed local? How much of it went towards diverse suppliers? How many went towards small suppliers? Small suppliers is counted in California as having fewer than 100 employees. And then we gather all that data together, pull together this report, and we submit it to the CPUC. We also do our best to educate local businesses about the values of that sort of certification, small or diverse certification, which we do every year through our Certify and Amplify webinar, which is coming up July 18th. You will get a note in your regularly regular board communications about it. So please help us get the word out to our local businesses. We'll also be working with your chambers to do so. So just if you didn't catch the supplier diversity report, just a quick update, $47 million MCE spent with 108 local businesses last year. 4.1 million of that was spent on 12 diverse businesses, and almost $1 million was spent on 11 small businesses. So right now, we just presented to the CPUC this morning, all went well, and then the next step is to organize our 7th annual Certified Amplify event. Again, that'll be on July 18th. Next slide, and I believe final slide. The final initiative that our team works on is the Environmental Justice Tiger Team. This is a 1-year cross-departmental effort to ensure that MCE is sensitive to the needs in our environmental justice communities, that we align with those needs, and we support where possible. And I wanted to point out my own mistake here. I neglected to mention that the public affairs team is critical to this effort, and I didn't write you on the slide. I'm so sorry, Jared. Public affairs should be up there. So this is an effort driven to hear community voices loudly, integrate that feedback into our programs and policy, and be a better advocate to these CBOs using our position as leverage. So to date, we are looking through annual reports, synthesizing what those priorities are, figuring out how MCE can be a co-advocate for those needs, and then working towards developing those needs either through our programs and policies. Next slide, I believe that might be my end. Thank you so much for all of your time, and I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you so much for that presentation. Do we have any questions or comments from directors?
I do.
Here in Concord, Director Nicomar.
Thank you, Alexandra. Thank you for your presentation, and happy Bike to Work Day. Alexandra and I first met while we were working as volunteers at an MCE station at the North Concord BART station. I don't know how many years ago that was, but I hope you were able to get on a bike today. Alexandra, when you talk about the green hydrogen, what type of partners is MCE looking for?
It's a very good question. I think that the best partnership that we're looking for would be a small scale electrolyzer that has a facility that is self-contained. So I have tended to see these things on university campuses where there's a bit of more of a research element, or it's more of a test bed, because the technology itself, unfortunately, is quite expensive. And so while we're moving towards a utility scale operation, right now we'd love to see a local pilot happen here in MCE service area.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add something?
Yes, sure. Yes.
If I could add one more thought, this is maybe a little further afield, but because each of you may have interface with other opportunities, I just want to put out there that we're trying to help support an effort to create a delivery pipeline of green hydrogen around the state of California. And we were able to participate on a panel about this at the CalCCA conference down in Irvine a couple weeks ago. It's a really exciting effort underfoot, and it is going to either fail fast or succeed fast. What it needs is buyers and sellers to connect and to get this pipeline going. And where our member agencies could really fit into this is if you're aware of any fleet upgrades where hydrogen vehicles could be created or could be introduced in place of diesel technology. This statewide effort is looking to have hydrogen available at that's priced comparable with diesel. So if the hydrogen vehicles can be incorporated into fleets, we could have a humongous impact across the state. Obviously, this is not MCE's core business. We don't own a bunch of fleet vehicles, but I think the ones to think about are school buses, waste hauling, trucks, delivery, and heavy duty vehicles that are not conducive to electric battery technology because of the weight of the batteries. The hydrogen technology seems to be a really good fit for this type of vehicle. And the tricky part has been getting a pipeline of supply that's reliable. And it's a chicken and egg problem. We need the chicken and the egg at the same time. So if you know of any transit agencies, school bus folks, sanitation agencies that are looking to transform into a greener fleet, send them our way and we can connect them to this public agency that's being created to connect buyers and sellers along a distribution network across the state.
Thank you, Dawn, for adding the information about the vehicles and replacing the diesel vehicles. I'll connect with Vicken because I have some people I'd like you to talk with.
Any directors with questions or comments from San Rafael?
Yes, we've got Director Thier and Director Quinto and Director Beckman.
Director Thier?
Thank you. So I just wanted to start off by saying, wow, that was amazing. And thank God we established this department and that you're leading it up. I'm only going to focus on two things. First, environmental justice. That work is critical. And I'm very pleased to see everything that's being done. And then I want to talk a little bit about supplier diversity right now, because the fact that MCE is hosting an annual Certify and Amplify and helping small businesses is something that we should all really focus on. These small businesses, when you help a small business in the community, that money goes right back into the community. It also supports families. It changes lives. And the fact that these numbers are amazing. The fact that 47 million is spent with 108 local businesses means that we're not just spending money with local businesses, we're creating those businesses. We're creating employees, we're creating jobs, we're creating opportunities for people within all of the communities that MCE serves. These numbers are impressive. I'm very excited, and I hope that you'll send invitations to all of the directors to attend on July 7th, and those who are able can see the small local businesses come in and try to get certified. So I really want to applaud you for this effort. It is very difficult to do, and it is the most rewarding thing to see businesses in our communities grow. So thank you.
Vice Chair Quinto?
Thank you very much. Regarding this presentation, thank you for that. It was excellent. One of the things that I'll be attending the beginning of the month, there's a hydrogen program in Sacramento, and that is on the 2nd and 3rd. So I'll be there wearing my Air District hat, but I'll certainly wear my MCE hat as well to make sure that if there's any companies there that we should meet, that I'll definitely pass out my card on that. On the Air Board, we do have a lot of projects that need to be approved. And hopefully we'll get some of these hydrogen projects approved. And I know we have some good ones in Contra Costa that need to be approved. And this will help us get to 2045 faster and create a lot of green jobs. So we want to get there, and but the problem is that all this is new technology, and that's why it's taking forever. And it's going back and forth and permitting all the time. But there's some new board members on permitting, and I'm on that as well. And hopefully we can, get these things moving, and know that I was able to get the executive committee of the Air Board to meet with these companies that are wondering why it's taking so long. So they've been able to meet, and hopefully soon we'll be able to move forward on that. So don't give up on our projects in Contra Costa, because I truly believe it'll happen eventually.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Director Beckman?
Yeah, thanks so much, Alexandra. That was a very rich presentation. And I think Director Thier's comment kind of cleared this up for me, but I didn't quite understand what the supplier diversity strategic initiative is. Is that basically just making sure that in our purchases as an agency, we're giving our business to businesses that are small, local, and diverse?
Pretty close. It is tracking the investment in those small, local, and diverse businesses and reporting out on them annually.
Thank you.
Yes.
And the businesses have to go through a big process, so they can't just contract with the agency, and all the different agencies like MCE have a process for disadvantaged, local, sometimes micro. The federal government has their own certification standards, but it's not an easy thing to do. And the companies, want to work with the agency wants to work with the companies. And so the certification fair is super important because it's how the companies are allowed to contract with the agency. So you can't just walk in and say, I want to work with you. So it's really a meaningful thing.
Thank you, Director Thayer. Jessica, do we have any additional public comment in San Rafael?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
Okay, any comments from directors via Zoom? All right, not seeing none. Any comments from directors here in Concord? Just making sure I'm not missing anyone, moving too fast. All right. Any public comment on this item?
I see no raised hands, Chair.
All right. Thank you again for the presentation. We'll be moving on to our last item, and that's board and staff matters. Are there any board or staff matters to discuss from directors? Seeing none here in Concord or raised hands via Zoom. Any in San Rafael?
None in San Rafael, Chair.
All right. Well, that will move us to the end of our last item, and that is to adjourn the meeting. So I will adjourn the meeting at 8:12 p.m. Thank you all, and you all have a great evening.